In 2015, the Hotel President Wilson in Geneva was renting a single suite for $83,200 a night. 3 blocks away, a Holiday Inn Express had rooms available for $189. Same city, same night, different planets. Most people hear that and assume the $83,000 room is a better version of the $189 room. It isn't. They're not the same product. They don't serve the same function. They don't even operate under the same logic. Below a certain point in the hotel suite hierarchy, you're buying sleep and a shower. Above it, you're buying something else entirely. And that something else has 7 distinct levels. Let's start at the bottom. Level 1, the junior suite, $300 to $800 per night. This is a standard room with a wall removed. The room averages 550 square feet versus the 480 square feet of a standard. That gap is approximately the footprint of a generous walk-in closet. The seating area people imagine hosting colleagues in becomes, in practice, the place suitcases go to die. There is no door between the couch and the bed. There is no acoustic separation. There is a slightly larger bathroom and a vague architectural suggestion that you're somewhere nicer. What actually changed is the marketing category. Hotels created the junior suite designation because offering a pricing tier between a standard room and a true suite required an intermediate label. The room followed the label, not the other way around. The business traveler books it for a cleaner Zoom background. The anniversary couple books it because it costs more than the standard, and they want the night to mean something. Both groups are paying for a feeling the room only partially delivers. The convenience is genuine. The upgrade is mostly theoretical. At this level, the product is the idea of more, not more space, not more service, the idea of it. Level 2, the one-bedroom suite, $800 to $2,500 per night. The product is a door, a single interior door between a sleeping room and a living room. That door is worth more than everything else in the rate increase combined. It closes, it latches. It means 2 people can occupy the same reserved space without occupying the same air. One person sleeps at 9, the other stays up until midnight. The next morning, neither one resents the other for it. At 700 to 1,100 square feet, these suites introduce functional kitchenettes, dual vanities, and real water pressure, rather than the apologetic trickle of a standard room's single showerhead. A family of 4 can sleep here without sending 2 people to an adjoining room. A couple on a long stay can work and live in the same suite without working and living in the same room. The family books it because a second room costs more than the suite differential, and children are easier to manage when they're behind a door. Long married couples book it for a different reason entirely, not because they need the space, because they've learned that shared space without private space is not a vacation. It's cohabitation under contract. At this level, the room stops being a place to sleep and starts being a system for 2 people to function in proximity without friction. Level 3, the luxury suite, $2,500 to $6,000 per night. The room isn't the product, the knowing is the product. Pick up a door handle in a Four Seasons luxury suite, and it has weight. Not decorative weight, engineered weight. The kind that signals someone made a decision about this object specifically. The light falling on the writing desk at 4 in the afternoon was planned. The temperature of the room when you walk in was set before you arrived, based on notes from a stay you took 16 months ago at a different property in a different country. Floor butlers at Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, and Park Hyatt properties review guest preference files before check-in. Coffee strength, newspaper format, wake-up call script, whether the bedside water should be still or sparkling. None of this is requested. It is already done. Suites in this range cover 1,200 to 2,000 square feet. But the square footage is close to irrelevant. The corporate executive books it because she cannot afford to think about the room. Every mental cycle spent locating the remote control or waiting for a slow elevator is a cycle not spent on the acquisition she's closing tomorrow. The senior diplomat books it because friction at the hotel is a liability he can't introduce into a trip that has no margin. The product stops being service. It becomes invisible logistics. If you notice it, they failed. Level 4, The name suite, $6,000 to $15,000 per night. The product is history, and you have to already know it for the price to make any sense. The Cary Grant Suite at the Savoy in London, the Coco Chanel Suite at the Ritz Paris, the Presidential Suite at the Plaza in New York, which runs 5,000 square feet and has been occupied by enough heads of state to constitute an informal diplomatic record. These rooms don't offer more space than a luxury suite. They offer lineage. The premium is not for higher service levels, though service is exceptional. The premium is for what the room says about the occupant by association. These walls held someone whose name is still relevant. That relevance is now transferable. For one night or three, the person paying the rate steps into a room-sized claim about who they are. The private equity principal books the Savoy suite because the meeting he's hosting tomorrow carries more weight in a room with a name than in a room with a number. The senior diplomat books the Coco Chanel suite because the meeting has nothing to do with Chanel and everything to do with what the address communicates to the other side of the table. At this level, the room stops being a place to stay. It becomes a credential. Level 5. The penthouse suite, $15,000 to $40,000 per night. The top floor is not a luxury. It is a logistical baseline. The Ty Warner penthouse at the Four Seasons New York occupies 4,300 square feet on the 52nd floor and runs approximately $75,000 per night. What that number buys is not a view. It buys an elimination of exposure vectors. There are no guests above you. There is a single elevator entry point. The surrounding floor level is cleared as a buffer. Sound from the street registers as ambient noise, not intrusion. Touring musicians on extended residency book penthouses because they can establish a private meeting zone 20 feet from the bedroom without the bedroom being part of the meeting. Family offices use them because the principal's location is confirmed to one fixed floor for the duration of the stay, and predictability of position is a security asset. The rate covers between 3,000 and 5,000 square feet across most flagship urban properties in this tier. The square footage is real. It's not why anyone books it. At this level, the suite stops being about where you sleep. It becomes about where you can be found, specifically, who can find you, how many access points exist between them and you, and how quickly you can establish that number before tomorrow. Level 6. The private villa or residence suite, $25,000 to $80,000 plus per night. This is architecture built around a person, not designed for guests in general, for one guest profile in particular. The Hotel President Wilson flagship suite covers 18,000 square feet across 12 rooms. The windows are bulletproof. That specification is not an upgrade. It is a structural baseline for a client type whose risk profile requires it. The Burj Al Arab Royal Suite in Dubai has a private cinema, a rotating bed, and a dedicated arrival desk that exists only for this floor. Check-in doesn't happen at a lobby counter. It happens before the vehicle has stopped. The advanced security team arrives 24 hours before the guest. Rooms are swept for electronic surveillance. Communication lines are tested and isolated. Staff assigned to the level are briefed under confidentiality protocols. When the principal lands, the check-in window is 90 seconds or less. The route from the vehicle to the suite is already clear, already held, already camera managed. The guest who books this room has stopped being a guest of the hotel. The hotel has started being a contractor to the guest. That inversion happened somewhere between level 4 and here, and most people don't notice exactly when. The product stops being hospitality. It becomes security architecture dressed in a hotel uniform. Level 7. The private compound, $80,000 plus per night. The hotel stays around you. You do not stay in the hotel. At Aman Properties and the Bulgari Bali Villa Estate, the top tier isn't listed in a rate sheet. It is accessed through a process that precedes the booking, a conversation, a verification, a quiet confirmation of what the arrangement will require of the property and what the property will require in return. The guest's name does not appear in the front of house system. It does not appear in the briefing sheets circulated to general staff. It does not appear anywhere accessible to a person who isn't specifically cleared to hold it. Standard guests do not cross the principal's path, not because a barrier stops them, Because the daily operations schedule is built to prevent the intersection before it could occur. Housekeeping windows, dining times, pool access, staff shift overlaps. All of it is prearranged around an absence. The guest's presence is managed by ensuring no one confirms it. The person who requires this structure has a public profile that makes locational data a security liability. A confirmed sighting is a data point. A data point is a vulnerability. The entire arrangement exists to ensure the data point doesn't form. Privacy here is not a preference. It is a structural requirement, engineered into the operations plan before the first piece of luggage leaves the aircraft. The room, the physical room, is irrelevant. Nobody at this level chose it for the room. The person who checks into a junior suite tonight and the person whose compound arrangements were confirmed 3 months ago through a private travel manager are both doing the same thing. They're buying a version of the world where the details are already handled. One bought a weekend of that, the other bought an infrastructure. What the industry figured out, slowly and expensively, is that a hotel suite isn't a product you make and then sell. It's a function that shifts at each level. Sleep becomes productivity. Productivity becomes invisibility. Invisibility becomes security. Security becomes structural anonymity. The room is just where it happens. The suite was never the point. The version of yourself who walks into it, the one who doesn't have to think about where anything is, or who can see the window, or whether the coffee is coming, that's what every level, from $300 to $83,200, is actually selling. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down how things actually work, not how the brochure describes them. See you in the next one.